evening and welcome to this House of Musicians with your host, singer, songwriter, and founder of the band, Inner City Outlaws, the Baritone Bear, Barry Smith, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email address is thishouseofmusicians@gmail.com or instudio101@gmail.com.
Roll the classy chassis way.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your host of this House of Musicians, Barry Smith.
Hey, good evening, fine listener, and welcome to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101. We hope you enjoy the next hour with us as we do our small part to help promote music bands and venues. Gary Labar, how are you this evening, sir?
I am fine, Mr. Barry Smith. How are you?
I'm very excited. We have a fellow on the show tonight that's been around the music business for many, many years. Very popular, local popular fella named Donnie Meeker, R&B singer. Donnie Meeker, how are you tonight, my friend?
It's all good, Barry. It's fun to be here, man.
Oh, good. Yes, we're going to have a fun show indeed. And we're honored to have you, Donnie. I know everybody knows the Donnie Meeker band and everybody knows Donnie Meeker. Donnie, let's start right at the beginning, friend. When you were young, where you grew up and how you were influenced by music as a young child or a teenager, or how you got, and who were you influenced by?
You know, I mean, probably you'll hear this from a lot of Toronto guys my age. You know, the Beatles came out in '64 pretty much. And the next thing you know, everybody and your brother wanted to be in a band. I grew up in the west end of Toronto, out in the Lakeshore, kind of blue-collar town, if you will. Everybody worked at Goodyear, Continental Can, Campbell Soup, that kind of thing. So I met up with this kid that was from Liverpool, and right away he learned 3 guitar chords, and we found another guitar player. Called herself the Shades. I guess we were about 15 years old, and practiced in somebody's front room for a while, and did a couple of gigs, and then it kind of stalled until, high school, and then I started again. And that was kind of the start of it. And that's how most of us started back then. It was pretty much playing primitive rock and roll. And then, as I say, the R&B kind of got the whole of Toronto wrapped up in there, in what people listened to. And we tried, that's what the next move was for us to get into the rhythm and blues, which was hard for young guys and young musicians because it's not simple. Like, you're a guitar player. That stuff was, played by really heavy players, from Motown and so on and so forth. Lots of chord changes, horns, great singers. And, here us kids are trying to cut this stuff, and it's hard. And,
it's hard.
And you can't sing like Marvin Gaye or James Brown if you're just some white kid from the West End trying to do it. But I did learn some of this stuff, man.
Absolutely. So is that who you were influenced by growing up? Who did you listen to when you were growing up?
I love the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and all that stuff. I mean, don't forget, coming out of that, before that, I call it Bobby music. It was all kind of bubblegum, Bobby V, Bobby Vinton, Bobby Curtola, all that kind of, goofy, lovey
Bobby music. That's awesome.
Because they're all Bobbies. Bobby Darin, they were all Bobbies. And then the Beatles and the Stones came along and everything just flipped right over. And then, of course, but we always had our ear to the rhythm and blues. That's what we played. That's what we listened to. So I was influenced by, early R&B, not so much blues, a little bit of blues, but blues wasn't popular at that point. Like, it made a resurgence in the last, 30, 40 years kind of thing, But don't forget, that's 50 years ago. I'm still out there playing 50-year-old songs played by 70-year-olds to other 70-year-olds.
Well, let's face it, it's really hard to play any of the newer stuff that's out these days. Not to knock the newer stuff, but the famous stuff is the stuff from the back in the day, right?
Pretty much.
Do you remember your first? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man. Do I remember my first gig?
Yes, your first time on stage. I always like to ask each and every artist on the show that we have, your first memories of the first time being on stage and what was like.
Well, it was pretty. We're played in the church basement of Christ the King out in the Lakeshore, and the funny part of it was we actually had to carry the amplifiers in a borrowed kid's wagon and pull it down there. And there was an old acoustic piano that we had a keyboard player, and if you will, just not even mic. I had one microphone, so two guitar players and a rented set of drums. And I still had the song list, and it was just really basic rock and roll. And it was like a thrill of a lifetime kind of thing, because we were playing to our other 14, 15-year-old kids from the neighborhood. So it was like,
right.
Oh, wow, this is fun, man. So we got
and it. When did you figure out? Like, were you singing when you were 3 years old? When did you figure out? Because you have a wonderful voice. When did you figure out you could sing?
I never really was much of a singer until it kind of kicked in later in life. But I mean, my parents were always musically inclined, and they'd listen to country and western stuff like that, and they'd go to the local bars, and and at the end of the evening there'd be a bunch of guitar players sitting in the front room strumming away on Hank Williams stuff and all that kind of
cool.
thing. So I never really was a singer, honest to God. I mean, I just happened to be not. I wasn't a guitar player, so they had to do something in the band, so they made me the singer.
That's awesome, and it turned out really good. So you began as a frontman for a few West End R&B bands, and then later teamed up with Bobby DuPont as singers of the well-known 70s rock band Sweet Blindness. Man, I'm excited to talk about that.
Well, I started out, like, again, after the goofy, start at high school. We started high school bands, and I created a band called DM and the Aggressors, because that's the beginning of me wanting my name out front. And that went on until somebody told me, what does that stand for? Don Messer and the Aggressors? And I went, no. So we quickly changed the name to the Jacks, Jax. And it was a high school band, so I had horns. We got the suits, the matching suits, and we were playing. Like, back in the day, that's what it took. We were out there with guys like Virgil Scott and Terry Draper, who were in the band The Innocents of Virgil Scott, the Bow Street Runners, all those guys. There was a whole bunch of non-union young R&B bands playing all over the place. So that continued for quite a while. And then what happened was a manager of ours came along and booked us all over the place. And he also was friends with Bobby DuPont's band that was playing under the Blue Note called the Statlers. So what he did, he took three of us from one band and three of them from another band and put them together, and it became Sweet Blindness. He created the name. His name is Mike Watson. He went on to, work for Quality Records and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So Bobby and I were founders with the other musicians, and that was the beginning of it. And that was about 1969, late 69, something like that. And I stayed with them for about 4 years, toured the country. Bobby and I were both frontmen, so he was the blonde, blue-eyed guy, and I had the black hair. So we were a pretty good match. Bobby was a way better singer than I was. I was probably about 2 years behind him, because he had been cutting his tracks in and getting his licks in at the Blue Note. Like, he was singing with all the big guys downtown. And he was only 17 years old. 17, wow. 18. We're both the same age. And, so we mixed pretty well, and it went on for a while, and I stayed with it. A lot of us thought we were going to be the next big thing, so none of us went to university or anything like that. So we gave up our education for, like, traveling like gypsies around all over Canada into the States and playing some festivals and so on. So it was a really good run. I had a great time. Yeah, absolutely. And then you did it. Yeah, we cut some records that went nowhere. I mean, the guys in the band were fabulous musicians, but to be honest, we couldn't write a song to save our lives. It just didn't have that one. Guys like Nucleus, Lords of London, these guys could write songs like you wouldn't believe. It's just natural. They come up with all this original material, and none of us really had it. And it's like, it's a skill you learn. You got to do it and do it and do it and do it. Bobby later on, got more creative and cut some pretty good records that kind of went good for him for a while there. And then, of course, the music business being what it is, just chews up people and spits them out. Yeah, no kidding, eh? And it's quite the tight, small community as well, the music community, because you're mentioning Terry Draper. What a wonderful guy. I spent an afternoon with him doing a live interview
with him, and so we've had him on the show. We've had, I know you've played some guitar with Neil Chapman. We've had him on the show, so it's a pretty small network of people that are out in Toronto. There are a lot of musicians, big scene, small network, right?
Well, that's true. Canada is. There are guys that cut it, and listen, we started out before Rush. Rush's manager, Ray Daniels, asked me to wanted to build a band around me back in the day. He was Rush's manager, and I said, "Oh no, I'm going to stick with Sweet Blindness," which was a mistake. I should have went with Ray.
You never know, though, man. Hindsight's 2020. You don't know.
You're right. You never know. I mean, you roll the dice. I mean, I was loyal to the guys, and because we grew up together, and. You're right. The scene now, because only the strong survive. It got so tough. Like, don't forget, when we were younger, it was 21 years old to get into bars. One day later, they dropped it to 18. The bars filled up with young people. Night after night, every bar in Ontario was booking bands. There was more work, more money than you could believe, in the early 70s and so on. So there was tons and tons and tons and tons of work. Then along came disco music. Then along came bars that hired strippers. Then along came, DJs. And all of a sudden, live music, bars weren't booking bands. They were playing, spinning records, man,
When they can book a DJ for $300 a night instead of a band for $6,
Exactly. Well, bands were getting paid a lot of money. So then all of a sudden, the music business took a shit kick in there. And you had fewer and fewer bars to play, so the price went down. So a lot of good musicians just pulled the plug. Hey, man, there's no money in this, which I did. I got out about 1974 and started, went off to Europe for 6 months to get my head straight, and came back and went, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I just let it go, and then periodically got into a little band here and there, like a pickup band, and wasn't seriously playing. I got a 9-to-5 job and made some real money.
Oh yeah, like we all did.
Of course.
Donnie, I remember not touring. That's kind of an elaborate word, but I'm talking about just doing the scene in Ontario with my band. And at the end of every Sunday, because I was a partier, of course, at the end of every gig, I'd owe the bar money. On top, you know what I mean? I would never get paid. I'd owe them money.
I know, man. And it hasn't got any better, really. I mean, I'm hiring guys that are absolute masters of their craft, and I don't want to tell you how much money it pays. I mean, I'm hiring guys like from Lighthouse, like Simon Wallace, sax player. I've worked with some of the big guys because they just love to play, so the money is secondary to them.
Yep.
But if you've spent your entire life learning how to play an instrument, I mean, that's these full-time guys. They practice every day. It's so sad. It really is terrible. I mean, when guys like me can come along and just jump in front of a band and sing some songs and kind of goof around, and I never really worked really hard at it, they must look at me and go, how can he get paid that much?
It's absolutely, and it's hard to call up a seasoned musician who's been around forever and offer them a gig for the weekend and tell them they're going to make $150. I mean, that's tough.
Listen, 150. I know people that would play 2 nights for $150. That's how crappy it is out there.
Yeah, it's
terrible. And don't forget, bar owners have been capitalizing on this too. They know they can get these guys on the cheap, and I don't blame them because don't forget, back in the day if you had a liquor license, you had a license to print money. There wasn't that many bars. Now every corner's got a little pseudo-Irish pub, right? And they hold about maybe 50 people. The bar owner can't make enough money to pay a lot of money to a band. The old stories, you got to sell $1,500 worth of beer to pay a band $500. That's
absolutely.
The numbers.
Oh, there's stuff they have to pay.
You're out there. You play, man.
Yep, licensing and all that kind of stuff to sell alcohol, and it's just, it kills. That's why so many bars close down all the time. They just can't keep it going, right?
No.
And then they took smoking out of bars, and they so that killed a lot of patrons going out to the bar when they got rid of the smoke. Then they put the smoking ban in there. Hey, I'm not knocking it. Maybe it's a good thing not to be smoking indoors where somebody doesn't smoke. I mean, that's great, but that also that attributed to killing the music scene too, as far as live music goes. Yeah.
No, and then it's not. We live in Canada. Alcohol is expensive. When you're paying $7 for a pint of beer, in certain places, holy smokes, that's a lot of coin, right? So you're not going to be spending money like the old days, like the Nob Hill and those places where there'd be 400 kids in there with all of them with $20 in their pocket buying, beers for 50 cents, and it was like it was just a party every night.
It was.
I know you've had Greg Godovich on and people like that. They've all done all these things. They know all these same bars I played, and it's like, they look back and just scratch their head and go, "Oh my God, man!" They all say the same thing. We were there when it was good.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's when it was booming. Those were the days back in the day when it was booming. Now it seems like something different. It's not like you're going out to have fun, but I mean, it just seems to be a different atmosphere now than it was back in the day, the bar scene.
Well, it isn't. The demographics. It's all just numbers. The baby boomers are the largest group of people. They are now approaching. Their age line is they're 65 to dead, right? So those are the people and the audience, and they don't go out at night. So that's why I started doing these matinees with guys like James Anthony and bands like the Meteors out in the Timothy's and up at Wasaga Beach, the Beacon with Virgil and them. They do these. They play to that crowd exclusively, and they have people that come out faithfully to hear, the music they want to hear, and it's fresh because they have a different guest every week. So it's not the same old. How many times you can go see a band, no matter how much you love them, if they just play the same 3 sets over and over again, you're done. You're out.
Right. Yep.
You got to keep it fresh. You got to keep it new. So, you have your band, and I've, listened to a few things you guys have done, which is pretty. You got some good players in that band, but it's hard to find.
Thank you.
Place to play. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen after this.
I'm hoping it's going to boom for you. I know that you plan on going back out with as a Donnie Meeker band, your own band. So I'm hoping, and you were playing before COVID, just to let everybody know. And I'm hoping that it will boom, but it's a hard call, isn't it?
It is. I just. I think some of the bars that book bands are gone. Some of the bars that are going to last got burned so bad with, expenses. They're going to be slow to want to, just all of a sudden blast it open and start spending money. It's not going to happen. They're going to test the waters. They're going to see what works for them, see if people start coming back, and maybe they'll start. So it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while for sure. Donnie, I want to talk about, you mentioned that you toured around Canada and into the States. I want to mention, I saw this movie the other day by David Grohl about bands touring around in vans, 5, 6 guys, 4 guys, in a little van touring around for miles and miles and months on end.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about your touring days, man. And if you have a story or something, that'd be great.
I do. We had like a 19... This is how old I am. We had a 1959 Chevy panel truck, right? Which is like, very small. 7 guys in the band, all laying in the back on top of the amps. One guy had to sit in the middle with his foot on the gear shift because it kept popping out of third gear. And we drove up to Aurelia that way, and we opened up for Hank Snow.
Wow.
Who was like, believe it or not, somebody said, do you realize he actually played with Elvis Presley? Now, we were just 17-year-old kids, so this was a big thrill. We probably stunk the place out, and I don't even remember if we got paid. But, that was our first truck. And the second truck was a Ford Econoline, which we thought we died and went to heaven. And there was always one guy in the band, his old man co-signed for it. And we drove that thing all over Ontario. And with, again, laying on top of the equipment, the whole band. And then, because nobody had a car. We just had the one truck.
Yeah,
and
man.
We played, our managers would be giving the same old story. I got you some gigs in New York City. But first we got this tour of Northern Ontario.
Right.
Sault Ste. Marie, Sudbury, North Bay, Sturgeon Falls, all these little shitty little one-nighters or high schools and stuff like that, staying in shitty motels. But we had so much fun. It was a blast, right? And
that's what everybody says. That's what everybody says. You're young, you're invincible.
Oh, yeah.
You look back at it now. Of course, now we're all in our 50s and 60s and 70s. We couldn't do it now. But
no, I'm not going to. No way. You'd die on the road. You couldn't do it. It's funny you say that, because remember we play in these big rooms, and we'd be in the A room, and later on, and then the B room would be a country and western band of the hard old road warriors playing the same 3-chord songs, to these beer parlors and, like Cape Rail and all these little small towns. And that's what this guy said. So this is the future. I'm getting out of this business.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, this is again. But with Sweet Bias, that was a different level. We moved up to the point where we had roadies, managers, agents, nice hotels, like getting flown to gigs and stuff like that. That was a whole. That was to us was the big time, and the money was good too. So we had, to the point where the band was getting booked all over the place. I mean, we opened for Mitch Ryder and Detroit Wheels out in Vancouver. Just things like that, and flying out to Dalhousie University and going to PEI and going to Newfoundland and playing there and their main stages. So we got some pretty good gigs as time went by. But everybody paid their dues, We all had to suffer and lay in the back of some amp in the back of a shitty truck for a couple, 3 years,
Absolutely. You all paid your dues, man. And that's hard work, and being out on the road is not an easy thing to do. I mean, I know a lot of people think, it'd be great to be a famous musician, but it's not that easy, is it?
Well, no, but it was, again, when you're young,
a ton of fun.
You can tough it out. I mean, it's just, you're resilient, there wasn't any kind of we weren't like doing day jobs and coming home. We were just living like gypsies and, traveling from here to here. I mean, you'd go into a hotel playing in Brantford or something like that, and you go, "Oh, do you have the keys to the band's rooms?" And the guy go, "You mean the band room?" So we're all staying in one room. Yeah, 6 guys in one room, that kind of thing.
Yeah, man, just crazy stuff. But hey, the memories are something that you can always reflect on, so that's amazing.
Absolutely.
I want to play a song, Donnie, but first, before I do that, I got an email from Helga A. Helga asks, "Love Donnie's vocals. Is there any advice that he could give to an up-and-coming vocalist? Thank you."
Yeah, you have to learn how to sing with your own voice. My mistake was early on trying to sound like everybody else. At one point, and trying to copy note for note for note, you got to sing it the way your voice is designed. Don't strain it. Sing it natural. Don't scream. Learn to relax and open up, and it's easier said than done. But all of a sudden, it comes along and it hits you. You go, so that's how you do it. I'm not somebody else. I can't sing. I'm not going to be this guy or that guy or Mick Jagger or whoever. You're going to sing it your way, and don't be afraid to do that. And so many people. That's great advice. Thanks for the email, Helga. And so many people have that same that same opinion. I mean, like George Jones. Let's talk about the hardcore country guy. George Jones came out singing like Hank Sr. until he was told, "Don't sing like Hank Sr. Sing like yourself." And that's when his voice really blossomed. Oh, I know it. He's such a singer.
Amazing.
You can't, I know you have your roots in country and stuff like that. George Jones is like a monster singer. He's up there with Vince Gill and those cats. I mean, just so different and such a fabulous range and all this kind of stuff he does is just amazing. Anyway, I'm blabbing on.
No, I agree, man. I always adored him and his voice and the songs that he could always pick a hit song. But yes, let's talk about Donnie Meeker. Let's talk about Hoochie Coochie Man from Woodstock in 2014. I want to play this song, Donnie, and then I want to come back and talk about Woodstock 2014 and talk about why you chose this song and why you like this song and whatnot. But let's play this song and then we'll talk about it. How does that sound, pal?
Right on.
Folks, I have the R&B singer Donnie Meeker on the show tonight. And again, it's our honor. We're going to listen to one of his songs called Hoochie Coochie Man from Woodstock 2014 on this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
A guy by the name of Muddy Waters. Get down a little bit, boys. Tell a story here. Back in those days, the women that were hanging around the bars, they called them hoochie women. Now, he was getting a lot of that hoochie coochie himself, but he thought he'd write a song about himself personally. He said a song, he called himself the Hoochie Coochie Man because he was getting all the girls. Now, that'd be nice if I could do that, right? Goes something like this. Gypsy woman told my mother the day I was born. Said you got more time coming, baby. You're gonna be a son of a gun. You're gonna make the women, make them jump and shout, testify. All we're gonna know, baby, baby, just what it's all about, but just know everybody knows I'm here. 'Cause I'm your coochie coochie man. Hold on, world, know some hell. On the 7th hour of the 7th day, on the 7th month, baby, baby, you know them 7 doctors say your baby was born. For good luck to see, got me $700 meal. Now don't you mess with me, but you know, everybody knows I'm here. 'Cause I'm your hoochie coochie man. All around the world knows I'm here. Take it to Chicago, brother. Yeah, it's settling right in there, baby. Ooh, yeah! He said that. I got a black cat bone. I got a mojo too. I got me a little John the Conqueror. I'm gonna mess with you. I'm gonna take all you women. I'm gonna lead you by my hand. And the whole world gonna know I'm your hoochie, coochie man. Everybody knows I'm here. 'Cause I'm your hoochie, coochie man. All down the world knows I'm here. 'Cause I'm your hoochie, coochie man. Big rock ending, I'm here. Donnie Meeker. A guy by the name of Muddy Waters.
Hey, welcome back. Great listeners. We have the one and only Donnie Meeker on the show this evening. Donnie, we just heard Hoochie Coochie Man. Talk about Woodstock 2014. It sounded like it was hopping there.
Well, that was put on. He did it for a couple of years. It was a benefit for people with lupus that this guy named Woody put on up in Keswick. But everybody came out for guys like the singer from Fathead, all huge players all came out and did it for nothing. Virgil Scott was there. John Mays, what's his name, Goodboo, and all various backup players like Joe Agnello and just all the real hit players. But it was pretty nicely done. And they always had a good PA system. So that was just a guest thing. I mean, I only did a couple of songs, and then all these other people came up and sang. And I did it for 2 years, and it was great. And then the guy that organizes, his health didn't kind of last him very well, so he kind of let it go. And with the stuff that you see on YouTube that is out there, mostly we don't do it ourselves. I mean, somebody's shooting it with their phone or whatever, and they put it on. You're at the mercy of whatever how it's been recorded. That one wasn't bad, because I've got probably 40 songs on there that other people have recorded and stuck on there, and some of them are just the sound quality is terrible or whatever. And God bless them for doing it. Most of us have never went out and had a professional come in and shoot it and put it on there and mix the sound. And you know what it's like, because I mean, sometimes when people are recording on their phone, it doesn't sound that great, But that one wasn't bad. That one was bad, and that was a good chance to play with with Neil. I've been out with Neil several times, and he's just a super gracious guy, no big ego, and believe me, he's got the chops. I mean, that guy is like a monster guitar player, but just a genuine nice guy. Love the guy.
Yeah, we're talking about Neil Chapman, Big E from the band Zedhead. Yep.
Oh yeah, well, he's been around like for a lot of years with a lot of big bands and had some great recordings. I mean, he's another hired gun. He's a guitar slinger that can play with anybody out there. So I've had
absolutely.
That's the greatest thing that's happened to me in the last, say 15 years, is getting to play with some of the heavy hitters. I've been out with Danny Weiss a whole bunch, who was a founder of Iron Butterfly from California. He moved back up here. I started playing with him for a while. Joey DeMarco, guys from Whiskey Howl and so on and so forth. James Anthony is another amazing guitar player that gives me a lot of work. I play with him all the time. He's with Bucky Berger, the drummer from Rough Trade, and Chilliwack. So there's this great circle of people that are around that I get to play with. I've never been able to hold them in one band, but they do these guest spots for me, and they're always there. So it's a real treat. I had Brad Parker, just heavy players, Mike McDonald, from 1,000 gigs. The guy played more gigs than anybody at Grossman's, a blues guitar player.
Yep, Mike McDonald, yep.
Oh yeah, he's been around for you. You have to know him. Guys like Dave Breckles on drums and Donnie Hart and bass, Neil Newman, Bill Evans. I mean, I could go on. I got a list of people that just hope they're listening, because they'll get pissed off if I don't mention their name.
Yeah, and some of them now I notice some of the names you're throwing out there. I could get in contact with them, get them on the show too. So that's fabulous.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the problem is some of these guys are gone now. I mean, two of my guys, Sweet Blindness, are gone. Bobby's gone. The bass player who went on to play with Long John Baldry, Lisa DeBell, and all them, he's gone. And one of them is way out west, and he's not feeling well. So, you got to get them soon, because they ain't getting any younger, man,
Yeah, that's for sure, buddy. I got an email from Joe V, and Joe asked, hey, all, how did Donnie come up with the name Lakeshore Riffraff?
Oh, boy. Well, that's where I'm from. I'm Lakeshore Riffraff. I made that, I believe it or not, I threw that out there, and it sort of stuck. I mean, I've had some crazy names. I had a band called Downtown Donnie and the Skid Row Smoothies for a while. That was one of my inclinations. Oh, yeah. I had Donnie Meeker and Hard Times. I've just had all these different bands, Southpaw, on and on and on. Just make them up as you go along.
Absolutely,
Lakeshore
buddy.
Riffraff. The Lakeshore is blue collar out there. I mean, everybody was an ordinary kind of person. Their dad worked at a factory. It wasn't like a wealthy part of town, but it was hometown, and we were the hometown band out there. We got all we played all the high schools. That's how you came up. You became popular in your own neighborhood. I mean, Godovitz. I mean, you read his book. This same thing. He got hot in Scarborough, right around his own neighborhood.
Yep.
And built it up from there.
Absolutely. I got another email from Joe J, and Joe asked, which is very exciting. I want to talk about with you about this as well. Is what was it like working on Gangland Undercover, the TV series, Donnie? Man, that's pretty special. Let's talk about that.
You know, I mean, honestly, that was such a thrill. I mean, Johnny Burkett got me that gig, right? He was on another biker show, and he got me that one there, and they liked my look. And, you know, I was a full member of a motorcycle club who shall go unnamed. And there was two other guys that were in the show that were currently 1%ers and formerly 1%ers that were part of our club in the TV shows. We were the Pagans, which is an existing real super heavy, nasty motorcycle club from the States. So it was great because they hired us and they let us bring our motorcycles. So we were being used as almost stuntmen, and we didn't get to speak, of course, because you have to be in the union to talk. But because we rode our motorcycles and supplied our motorcycles, we were like kind of, you know, not stars or anything like that, but we were the ones having the most fun. And, you know, so we did the whole series, and, you know, I mean, it's super interesting if you've never been on a TV show. You know, you don't realize all the stuff that's going on around you, and the camera's looking at you, but, you know, really they're focusing on the main actors. Like, I know, didn't you have Tommy Mitchell on there?
Tommy Mitchell is a good friend of mine. We've done a bit of riding in the past, and definitely had him on the show. Yep.
Yeah, he's a real deal. Now, he's a real actor. You'll see him in different shows. So he became a close friend, and we became tight. And all the cast of the motorcycle guys, we had a couple of reunions and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, the third season, there just wasn't enough money behind it to get the third season. So there we are in the very last scene of the second season, you know, and the suspense is all building up, and we're there. You know, the three of us are standing there with the main actor, and that sort of just left a cliffhanger of what was going to happen. So all these people were so upset that it didn't come out for the third season. I remember that. Died a death. Yeah, it died a death. But I mean, for me, it was so much fun. And some of the guys, like Lee Baldwin and them, they were able to get other work out of that. You know, they became they picked up an agent, and you know, they got the look and they got the beard and the tattoo, so they get some work. You know, I got a couple of, you know, TV shows after that where I was just a background meat, I call it. You just stand there, you know, you get paid.
Sure.
But it was fun.
Lee's got the beard. I know you said he's got the look. Lee's got the beard.
Oh yeah, man. He is the bearded. He's called the bearded general now. He's my really close friend. We were like both Pagans, and we kind of hooked up on the show together, and have remained tight friends ever since. So yeah, he's
sure.
He's got the look, man.
He's got the look, and he wins lots of beard competitions, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he does. Man.
Well, going back to Tommy Mitchell, I know he's got they're playing in the theaters right now. Spiral with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, the Saw series, Spiral. He's going to be now. That's not released in Canada yet. I guess they're waiting for the what do you call it? The theaters to open up. But I've got a little inside, so I'm going to be watching that movie tonight.
All right, I did not know that. I'm really happy for him because, you know, the music business is hard. Acting, these actors, holy smokes, you can go like years before you get anything, you know. And it's a closed shop. So Tommy's got the chops, if you will. I mean, in terms of, you know, you watch him on the show there, he just, you know, he's a center of attention. He's really got it going on, you know. He's got the look. I've seen him play like a lawyer, a biker, this or that, you know, and he just comes off supernatural, you know. And
absolutely,
really like guy.
A great guy. I've literally been, you know, watching a movie or a TV show, and out comes Tommy from somewhere in the show. Yeah, I'm like, holy smokes, are you kidding me? Here he is again, right? So, but anyway, yeah, great guys. We know a bunch of great guys, that's for sure. So Donnie, who do you listen to now when you're just beating around the house, or you're cleaning, or doing whatever?
I still have a love of rhythm and blues. I mean, I like Earth, Wind, and Fire. I like, you know, the Tower of Power, that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, I love some of the girl singers like Aretha Franklin and Gladys Knight, you know, people of that nature. I don't listen to new stuff. I mean, I stopped listening, you know, to anything newer than maybe 1980 sort of thing. I mean, I'm exaggerating there, but I will. A friend of mine passed on a little while ago, and his wife called me. She says, "Do you want some CDs?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And she gave me 600 CDs in boxes of them. So I'm listening to everything. He had everything you can think of. I got, you want country? I got every single country song by every single artist. I got, rock. I got R&B. Got all kinds of blues. So I'm listening to everything now. And I go up the cottage and just crank the stuff up, and away I go. As far as like any favorite stuff, I don't know, man. I'm open to anything but there's an awful lot of crap out there. I just have to turn right off.
Everybody says the same thing. The same thing. Yeah. The radio stations nowadays and everything is just so much different than it used to be back in the day. They're totally going for what all the young people are listening to. You get the odd classic rock station that are left.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's what they're marketing. They're the people that are spending the dollars to buy some of the crap that's out there, and God bless them, but there's no money recording anymore. I mean, it's just they're selling a lot of hip hop and Cardi B and all these other kind of weird acts. I mean, I watched I guess it was the Grammys there, and I just had to turn it off going, oh, geez, this is awful.
I know. It is. It really is.
I mean, hey, we're old. I mean, I'm sure our parents listened to our stuff and went, oh my God, this is terrible,
Exact same thing. Yep.
Yeah. Anyhow,
as the generations go on, that's what happens. Donnie, I want to ask you the best jam you think you've ever played in on stage with whoever it may be. The best jam.
Well, I'd have to say some real, I'm dropping names again. Some really super magic moments with Danny Weiss, who, if you read Bruce Springsteen's book, on page number whatever it is, they ask Bruce Springsteen who his favorite guitar player is. He goes, Danny Weiss. He said, I used to see him. He'd come to New York in Janis Joplin's band and just wow everybody. Like he was in Rhinoceros. The guy is like a god. So I mean, that guy and Dave Breckles on drums, and keyboard player of Gabor Sapisi, and Neil Newman on bass. That was a band that just killed. Like those guys there play anything and anywhere. It's just magical. And then I did some big gigs with them too. I did Lakeshore Mardi Gras, and we played for a while up in Collingwood at this really great bar up there. But I mean, I've been on. It's hard to say with the favorite one, but sometimes it's just magic, right? I mean, James Anthony and me. I mean, he is another monster guitar player that just is the best trio that's going. Him, Bucky Berger, and let's see, bass players. He's gonna kill me if I don't mention his name. But anyway, that is a super trio. So when I add horns with those guys and a keyboard player, which I did several times when I did my my event for the Wounded Warriors, the Sunnybrook Veterans Fund, which I did for 10 years, and hired like all the big players. I've had everybody out for that one, and raised $20,000 to give to.
That's amazing.
It was. I mean, I'm bragging. I just was the kind of guy put it together. I had a team help me sell the tickets and all that other stuff, and the facility gave me the room for nothing, and I just rented some guys with PAs, and and away they went. And I had like George Oliver out, I had Grant Smith out, I had all these different cats out that came out to play, and it went over so well. And it's so nice to play with a big band. I mean, when you're fronting a big band, I mean, it's just like, holy smokes. I mean, I got, 4 horns and, great lighting and a great PA system. Because hey, you know what it's like playing in a crummy little room with a shitty PA system, playing on the floor in a corner of a bar near the kitchen or the men's washroom.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get to do the real gigs with proper lighting and sound systems and somebody mixing and all that, it's good. It's sweet.
Absolutely, and I was going to mention I've watched numerous videos of some of the stuff that you've done, and there's always 9, 10, 11 people on stage, which is so impressive. I mean, the sounds that come out are amazing. Now, the bass player you were trying to talk about, was it Neil Newman?
No, I played with Neil before. He's my guy from Collingwood. This guy is, he's fabulous bass player, very quiet dude. Plays with James Anthony all the time. I'll think of his name in a minute.
Yeah, no worries. And you're not playing with any slouches at all. Let's go back to talking about Danny Weiss. The guy's 18 years old. He founded Iron Butterfly. He's played with Johnny Cash, Tex Ritter, the Grand Ole Opry stars and whatnot. So these are some amazing players that you're playing with as well.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I mean, that's again, they want to play so bad and there's so little work out there that you can get these guys. You know, before they were up in the stratosphere, like, forget about it, man. You know, I mean, Bucky Berger's played with he's been on albums with Chilliwack, Rough Trade, on and on and on, you know, and he just loves to play, and he's a fabulous drummer, man. Like, he's just so good. Holy shit.
Yeah, man. You know? That's amazing. Donnie, man, it's an honor to have you here again. Let's play another song here that you did at the Harbor Street Fish Bar, and to a packed audience. We're going to do a song that you did called "Tell It Like It Is." Let's play that and come back and talk about your days at the Fish Bar, the Harbor Street Fish Bar, and. Yeah. And singing this song. So let's do that, folks. I have Donnie Meeker on the show this evening. We're going to listen to him singing, listen to his voice, folks. And by the way, you can find Donnie Meeker. It says, spelt how it says, Donnie Meeker. Just look anywhere on the internet and he will pop up and you'll be able to watch some of his stuff. This is a song that he sang called "Tell It Like It Is" on this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
I'm not just a little boy. But if you want to sing it, don't go play with my heart. It makes me furious. Yeah. That's a good old song. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. All right.
Hey, welcome back, folks. I have Donnie Meeker on this evening's episode, and we just heard Tell It Like It Is from the Harbor Street Fish Bar to a packed audience. Donnie, let's talk about that gig for a bit.
Well, that was, the fabulous Danny was playing guitar there, of course. I mean, Joey.
I was going to mention the guitar playing's amazing. Sorry to cut you off, but
he's a killer. I mean, you're a guitar player. You watch and see what he does. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Joey DeMarco's a great drummer, and Neil Newman, of course, on bass, and then Gabor Sapisi on keyboard. So it was a really great band. So I did about a year with them up there every once a week kind of thing. And it was a really fun gig, and so on and so forth. And they've moved on to different stuff. And Danny lives quite a ways out in the country now, so I can't get him into the city unless I got something big for him. But that was fun. Right. So I work with them, and I can, I see some of those cats. I go up to the Beacon in Wasaga and work with Virgil and his band, Dave Breckles and those guys, and they've got a great little band. That's a nice little gig too. It's a Wednesday night, and all the folks come out and listen to the old tunes. So that's what I'm doing. If it starts again, which I believe it will, but who knows, man?
Yeah, when it starts again, you'll be out there with the Donnie Meeker band. So we're looking forward to that. Donnie, I always ask my artists, probably my favorite part of the show. I know it's putting you on the spot a bit, but please tell me a crazy story that's happened to you on the road or with somebody famous on stage, or it's just a crazy story, something crazy.
Well, comes to mind, I was playing at the place called Cousin Don's, and there was probably about 300 young people in there, all loaded to the gills, and a fight broke out, and my girlfriend was right in the middle of it. So
oh, no.
Here's me, 140 pounds of just of muscle. I figured I'm going to jump off the stage and save her. Well,
wow.
Absolutely true. I tripped over a cord and I pulled the goddamn the sound system down on one side and landed on my head. So that was pretty cool. I mean, I must admit, here's my big hero trying to save the day, and I ended up, just making a fool of myself. And, different stuff. And I've fallen off stages, of course, and, tripped over things. I knocked a trumpet player's tooth out once when I tried to do a George Oliver spin, one of those quick ones.
Oh, no.
And I hit the horn with my elbow, and it knocked his tooth out.
Oh, man.
Those things come to mind, but there's all kinds of crazy things that have happened over the years,
Absolutely.
But I do remember that one, leaping off the stage.
That's hilarious. That would be something to have on video. Sorry to say.
Fortunately, back in those days, nothing was recorded. I mean, you'd have to literally bring a big movie camera in to shoot the stuff, or like even just audio. I mean, you had to have a fairly sizable tape deck to tape it, right? Anyway,
absolutely. Hey, Donnie, it's been a pleasure to have you. There's a segment of the show I like to do called, well, Gary, what do you think?
What do I think? I can listen to these stories all night. This is interesting. It's amazing to hear some of the folks that Donnie has worked with and continue to work with. And I love the traditional type of blues type of music to the soul. It means something. The lyrics are phenomenal. The arrangements are beautiful. So, I'm a fan.
Right on.
There you go. Donnie Meeker, thank you so much for being on our show. Well, I want to continue to follow your progress. I know you're going to be out there playing with the Donnie Meeker band when all this crap ends and we're all back to half-witted normal, you'll be out playing. So thank you for doing the show, bud. I really appreciate it. I want to get you back on the show down the road, and we'll talk some more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, my friend. Again, Donnie Meeker, thank you for helping build the house that we all grew up in with your musical talent. And to the listener, I say thank you for being here. Always dance and sing. Let the music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week, and good night. You've been listening to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.